Man, what's going on?
Yo, what's up?
I
Poggy.
was, I was talking a little bit about you and about what you've done over the years and how I met you. I didn't say, but I met you, and you were kind of afraid. You're kind of hiding out from the police. It's kind of unbelievable the work you've done and how you've grown and your following and the work that you've done connecting people to great lawyers like Ben Crump and others. So you've dedicated a big part of your life to fighting police brutality and kind of bring balance as well. You put so many positive things on when you've noticed police doing good deeds. But tell us a little bit about what you do, Checkpoint.
I mean, I try to encourage people to always film the police. I think it's as few words as possible that ideally we can all do. If we're pulled over, I'm not advocating like you hold the phone and you're doing this thing. No, like for me, I film the police, I hit record, I put the phone down, and I've used just audio to win a $70,000 settlement for being arrested for something I shouldn't have been. And I shared that video on YouTube. People say that happened to me, but they don't have footage. And so I pull over, I start recording before I pull over. I make sure to always film the police. And if I can safely film someone else talking, like, for me, I'm white. Police don't fuck with me, right? So I can go up to police that are talking to someone black or brown. I can film them, and I understand not everyone would feel safe doing that. If you do feel safe, I would encourage you to do so, because that's how we make police transparent overnight.
Well,
And
thank you for that.
yeah,
Listen, you were here in Bali with me. When I see you back in LA, you're all comfortable, but you seemed, when I met you in Bali, because I had met you before that and your work I knew about, but when you came here, you were actually afraid because you had created uh, such a friction between you and the police in LA, especially.
yeah. And I think, when you expose a bad cop, like how many people don't like that, whether it's the coworkers, whether family, friends, and like all these things. And I definitely get my fair messages of, kind of that hate and disgust. When for me, it's about transparency, right? I mean, I respect the position so much. I hold them to the highest standard, and being filmed is part of it. Like, that's just literally, really, for me, it's part of the transparency. And we know the only reason we're in the streets all the time marching and whatever, it's because that stuff was caught on film, right? If it wasn't, it's our word against the cops. We know who the courts typically, we know who believes what, right? And so one thing I just want to encourage everyone, really, I want people to be encouraged to do jury duty. And I want to make that cool. Like, I know typically it's like, oh, I got to be a juror in the jury. Like, how do I get out of it? But for real, like, the best way to be a patriotic, in my opinion, and I know it's random, but really it's to be part of that process. Know that not everything people say is true. Question everything, and not be just like I don't know. So that's just some random thing.
Wait, but you got in trouble recently. You're all over the news, all over the world yesterday and today. What are they talking about?
So I went into a police department, and I wanted to get some request forms to get like access to body cam footage. And one of the officers starts playing Sublime Santeria. Mind you, I was live streaming. And what it reminded me right away when he started doing it was a few weeks before, I was talking to some officers, and he came up and started playing the Beatles. And someone commented, I think he might be doing this to make a copyright issue so that Instagram Live takes down your video. I didn't think much of it at the time, but when the officer was playing Sublime Santeria a few weeks right after, this was a few days ago, I'm like, yo, I think you're doing this because you're trying to make my live go down by playing copyrighted music. And, that's not cool. I saw that cop later the same day, and he said, hey, I couldn't hear you earlier through the window. He starts playing another song like this. Listen to this.
Well, it's become now, so you're telling me it's become a natural thing, or not a natural, but it's become a tool used by police who don't want to be filmed.
In my opinion, it's their attempt. Yeah, it's their attempt to stop a broadcast going for, which is my First Amendment right to film, to broadcast freely. What's wild about it is Instagram hasn't taken down any of the videos, and it didn't disrupt the lives. Although I believe they attempt to do. But like, for example, this story's gone viral. It's in all of the publications all over. NBC, CBS, like I did interviews with them. Some of these media outlets couldn't share some of these videos. Why? Because the Beatles were in it. So the cops in a way got what they wanted, right? And I don't know if they will continue to do this because I think it looks so bad. How are you having a conversation with the public that you're supposed to serve and you're playing music?
Well, I get it. I guess you learned a lesson, and we know now that that may be a tactic that LAPD at least have started to pass around the idea that if you play music,
That's
that,
Beverly Hills PD, by the way. No, Beverly Hills PD.
right? Well,
Just doing that. Which when they're mentioned, that's international police force in
well,
terms of publicity.
listen, I wanted to, I just wanted to check in with you because I know that you've been working. I know you put your life at risk. I know that you also are in the street a lot, helping homeless people with COVID and the COVID epidemic and getting masks to people and just doing all this. And, a lot of people are famous, but other people are important. And I view you as important, and I want more people to know you because the more famous and important you are, the more you can share your messaging. So whoever I know, I want to know you. And I believe in you. And I think that you spent a lifetime, and I don't know how many people you referred to, Ben Crump and some of the lawyers I've referred to you, but there's been a significant number of people whose lives you have changed for the better. And for me, I just like supporting you. And I want other people to know who you are, Mr. Checkpoint _ follow him. And Mr. Checkpoint, your hair, you look like, the fuck? What's up with your hair?
I know. I'll get a cut soon.
All right. Well, what about, I did today I had a conference call with a guy, Rabbi Snaya, who I worked with for many years on putting Muslims and Jews together. And, because your hair reminded me of Jews. That's like a Jew. Anyway, but the rabbi said that there's a recent spike, not recent, but keep continuing an ongoing spike on anti-Semitism. And I think that even now, even after we think we resolved it, there's no COVID, there'd be no COVID, no COVID, no Biden.
Yeah.
So when we the Democrats have won and progressive views are more important, we have to realize we live in such a polarized society, and there's so much hate. And some of what's happening that we view as we live in Beverly Hills, like where you live, or I live with a bunch of yogis. When I visit New York, I'm around a bunch of progressives. I visit LA, I'm surrounded by progressives. We forget that the rest of the country doesn't think like us. And we, in turn, sometimes demonize those people for thinking the way they think. But a great percentage of them are racist, are homophobic, are Islamophobic, are anti-Semitic. The polarization that's in this country, something that you and I discussed at length when you were here. What's your new take on it? Because every day I get another, because I want to love everyone and I want to give people the opportunity to come out of wrong thinking. And, the yogis refer to wrong thinking, right? Separation from others is wrong thinking. We are all the species are all collective God. We are all God and all connected. I say that, it's my belief system. And people who don't believe that, I can't demonize them, but so long as they don't promote hate on others, and if they don't do things, they don't promote not only segregation, but economic segregation, not only, not liking people, but causing others not to like people, enabling people to join into what always amounts to a really horrific behavior. So so you have to stand up against that. But tell me what you feel about this. What are you seeing in LA?
I feel that it's not really, I don't know. I want to be optimistic. I think that in LA specifically that there's some new elected officials that I believe are on the path to make change. And I've seen a few instances where they've been progressive and like looked at specific cases and like let the guy out or different things like that. I'm an optimist, man. I want to see it get better. I think that the police and the issues I deal with, it's incredibly polarizing. I wish it wasn't. And, it's just, it is scary. I think like there's things that go on in the sheriff's department in LA, and where you have these like literally like documented internal gangs and like just stuff that's like literally beyond words or imagination that really is occurring. And so I know there's good cops out there. I think it's really hard to be a good cop because, you know, are you so good that like you risk it all? If you risk it all, you're not a cop anymore. Or, you know, then where do they all go? Right? So it's a challenging time. I think a lot of people are aware that more than ever, clearly, and it's just continuing to spread the message. And like you and I always talk about, like how to build the bridges, right, and bridge the gaps between the people who experience the negative abuse of police all the time and the people who don't even know it exists and would be shocked that an officer could even lie, right, let alone break the law and still be employed.
It's, you know, we have a challenging time where people are so polarized. I think they're socialized to believe one way or the other. And then they start to believe, you know, like for instance, it's so polarized that even the progressives are very angry, right? The cancel thing, you know, if you say something they don't like, say, for instance, me as a progressive, right? I'm part of a gang. I don't intend to be, but, you know, if I were to say I rolled over this morning and God whispered in my ear that there should be no abortion, it'd be my opinion, and I said it, I would be demonized on social media like crazy. Or if I rolled over and said, I believe, well, not in guns, because a lot of people in the South believe in guns, but if I said, because I don't believe in, you know, if I were to say, for instance, I'm vegan, and I have been, but I had chicken, I mean, people just attack you. They demonize you today and cancel you for just any infraction of what they believe is, you know, what you should believe. Even I
Absolutely.
even have to look at Mitch McConnell today in the Senate, the head of the Senate, to say, I believe that Donald Trump is guilty, but we can't convict him. I believe Donald Trump is, you know, or to have what's her name, Haley, what's her name, the Congresswoman, Haley Barker, who became a senior person for the Trump. I think she might have been the Secretary of State. But Haley Barber, correct, right? Haley Barber said we went down the wrong path. Everybody in her party and everybody around her is going to demonize her for sharing her opinion and breaking with the gang. That's just her reality. She's not going to have friends say, "Oh, I'm glad you went against Trump." Going to have many more friends or former friends say, "How dare you?" Right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, you got to really respect people who have the courage, because most people in this current climate do not speak up against common, you know, the collective's opinion. And the collective could be your small group. You know, it
Yeah.
doesn't have to, it's really scary in this moment of polarization and I've always wanted to be a truth teller. You know, you know, if I could occupy the radical center and build bridges, I would do that. Except I do believe way more progressive viewpoints than the far left of the Democrat Party. I believe we should take care of the poor. I mean, fully. I believe we should underwrite education for underserved communities that's equal and high quality. And I believe we should do health care for underserved communities that's equal and high quality. I believe we should educate those who come out of prison, and we should change what the prison industrial complex has done. And I believe we should repair the paths for whole communities that have been abused by American policies. I believe all of those things. So I'm obviously a progressive, but progressives are listeners. And I'm finding that people don't listen. They're just angry, and they're pointing the finger.
Yeah.
Even everybody who supports Trump was not racist. Some people just believe in Israel. Some people just believe in the tax code. Some people just believe in his policy about the rest of the world, which I think, you know, a lot of the things, I don't believe in it, none of those things I mentioned, but, you know, I don't not believe in Israel, but I just don't believe that that's the right choice to make Israel exist in a healthy environment. So I didn't believe in Netanyahu's policies. I didn't believe in being aggressive in that way. So I'm not against Israel, but against it. So it's all these things that Trump did that people liked, and then they supported that and it was and racism for them maybe wasn't a deal breaker, which I think is unfortunate. But it is fact that everyone who thinks differently from you is not the devil. And I got to say that because half the country is not the devil. They just
I feel that. I think that's a good point. I think I saw that most truly like with George, well, this difference with George Floyd, you know, before and after, because, for example, Philando Castile, when he was shot and killed, like, for me, it was just, I mean, it was, my response was like how to organize. Hundreds of us met up at Roxbury Park in Beverly Hills. We went down Rodeo Drive, went to the police station, let out our anger and chanting and those kind of things after we shook hands with the police. My point is like me the organizing that, I'm putting it on my Instagram back in, I think that was 2016. I got unfollowed, maybe one, like literally like no one like commented. It was like no one liked it. The people that went were people I didn't even know. And, you know, since George Floyd, it's like, wow, I mean, the amount of people that have wanted to join that conversation, participate publicly. I mean, you were almost like shamed if you didn't do some sort of acknowledgement in this moment. And so to me, that's a beautiful time of transition. And I'm just like thankful to see that, because some people do this work their whole life. I mean, I've done it all 10 years, which is, I'm just fortunate too, but their whole life and never see any kind of movement like that, I think.
well, you know, I just think the polarization. I mean, there's good in everybody. There's good in every political thought. I mean, yes, it's hard to find the good in white supremacists. It's hard to find the good in anti-Semites, Islamophobic people, or homophobic people. For me, it's hard to find the good in them. I know there's good in them as well. It's hard to find what we want to celebrate in those people. But I don't want to, you know, I just want people to learn by example. I just don't want people to be afraid to have opinions. And I don't want, at the same time, I want people to feel some things are not normal or acceptable. You know,
Yeah.
in other words, Trump enabled racism to some degree. He cannot get around that. He enabled people, emboldened them to say and do things that were pretty much out of the American psyche. Like if you did them, you can't be a KKK 50 years ago. I watched Time to Kill the other day with Sam Jackson. You
Oh
seen
my
that?
God, one of the best movies.
Right, but you know what? The movies, I don't know how many years ago, 20 years ago, and they were like, they couldn't find the Klan. Remember? We have to find the Klan, even if it was a racist territory, and even if there was segregation beyond belief, and even if there was suffering in the black community, which may have improved the quality of life for some. But in general, it was like it was yesterday. It was like yesterday, you know, and that had stopped. And a lot of it was even worse than yesterday because there is a Klan in that community now. So there's really a rebellion, and it's bigger and rising faster than we anticipate or we really know how to combat.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's I don't know. I don't know where we're at, but it's wild.
But we shouldn't buy into the hate.
No,
Much
never.
as we have to, I mean, obviously, if it comes civil war, even like Krishna told Arjuna, chop their heads off. But, you know, we want people to come together and have dialogue and create some kind of, and I don't like the word middle ground because yes, I want to continue to empower women and put them in office. Yes, I want to empower gays and lesbians and transgender. Yes, I want to empower and I want the people to stop being so anti-Semitic. And obviously, the racism that persists in this country is one of the worst things that I've seen in 20 years. I mean, yes, I want to end all that, and I don't want to enable that, and I don't want. That's why the question of whether we should really go after Trump. There were people saying, "Oh no, it's going to create more polarization." Yeah, but if someone does the things he does, my opinion finally turned out that yeah, drag him through the street, hang him in Macy's window, so other people, not because I care about punishing him, so other people will feel it's unacceptable to promote racism. Other people will feel it unacceptable.
Be they won't be confident and like do it proudly, knowing they're on camera. How many times do we see someone be racist mentioning the being filmed, right? Like you're just gonna film like right, and it's he made people be confident and show their true colors. And I think, you know, one thing I was gonna say though is like
Also, you know, a lot of people had stopped blaming others for their condition and were working to get out of it, which we all are still doing that. But there were other people who might have gotten past it. Their daughter married black. They live in this world. They just kind of been suppressed what was negative, and they kind of like stopped thinking it because they couldn't say it. If you can't say it, it becomes less prevalent in your mind. If you know that if you say something racist and all your friends tell you stop it, you realize it's the wrong-headed.
Yeah,
you know, and then stop thinking. You stop thinking what you can't express, and you stop expressing what you feel is unfavorable. So that's really what the way you suppress hate is, by you make it unacceptable. So you have that work.
That's why, like, you know, and people will comment on my page a bunch of crazy stuff, personal stuff, whatever. You know, I learned about the restrict button. So I stopped blocking them and I started restricting them because, to be honest, and even like sometimes I'll get some weird, crazy DMs and I'll respond back just like it's all good, like all love, you know, like they'll be saying crazy. And the reality is, like, you know, they don't. I really think some people, they come around, you know, they tell me that, like, hey, I thought this way, I kept watching and I see, wow, it is this way, because the truth always comes around, you know.
Always express your truth. They can digest it. The idea of anger, someone can yell at them and they can like take it and be taken back by it, but then you say it nicely. My friends yelled about being vegan 30 years ago. What's wrong with you? Why would you eat that? You're eating steak, you piece. You go that way, okay? And then someone said, you know, the suffering of animals. This was 20 some odd years ago. You know, is on you. You know, and then he showed me a video, and they were nice, and then I watched that movie, Diet for New America, and but it took a lot. It took someone angry, and it took someone sweet, right? So all kinds, right? That's exactly, you know, you needed, but you needed Malcolm to say, you know what, the collective of the white action is the devil. The devil. You call me the devil? Well, the collective of white supremacy right now on blacks is the devil for us. And you know, that sounded really impossible to digest. And then Dr. King said, let's all get along. And he said, oh, I'll all get along. Because you don't really want to. So you had to hear a tough version. You had to see the Black Panthers pointing out the obvious, right? You had to see the Black Muslims pointing out the obvious. In order for someone who's sweet can say it in a way you can digest it. So maybe it's a bit of both. I try to be the truth teller, whatever my heart gives me, and it's a little bit of both, I think.
If you want another awesome video in our Black Excellence series, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.